I see. They didn't replace this one.
You care if I do or not?
No.
Yeah, I said that will start my eye out.
So now they have one for everybody. That's the deal.
Welcome everyone to the March 2016 meeting of the Brisbane Open Space and Ecology Committee. Left-handed, I can still do it. So, getting right down to business, and I want to give a welcome to everyone who's here in the audience, and looking forward to hearing from you. And our first order of business will be adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt?
I so move.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion is carried. Next, we'll have oral communications.
Natalie, were you going to put them on the screen?
They're going to have on the screen.
Good thing I printed it out.
Yeah. There it is.
All right.
There we go.
So oral communications, this is an opportunity for public comment on agenda items. And so if there's any members of the public that would like to address the committee at this time. All right, then we'll move to our next order of business. Yes?
Can I make one announcement?
Absolutely.
I'd like to
remind everyone that our Habitat Restoration Day is April 23rd, Saturday, so please everyone come and help. We're meeting up near the Mission Blue Center for Habitat Restoration. It's going to be really exciting.
Excellent.
And where is that going to be? Where are we going to be?
It's the Monarch and the area of Monarch Drive and Mission Blue Road, that whole open area there.
Great.
Yeah,
So,
it's very exciting. It's very important. Clippy and Mission Blue habitat that's been degraded and really needs some attention and love.
okay.
So we'll be taking out fennel and broom.
Excellent.
Yeah, and if anybody has never participated, it's really a great time a great opportunity to get out, and the weather is going to be good, and you can meet your neighbors and help improve Brisbane's ecology.
And get a T-shirt and lunch.
It's a great day. It really is a really fun day.
Really fun time. And usually you don't get poisoned up if you're careful. Actually, I don't know, that part of the hill there probably wouldn't be. It's pretty sunny, isn't it?
I would never assume that.
As long as you rinse off with cold water within 2 hours, it most likely will not stay on your skin.
All right. Great. Well, we're looking forward to that. Any other oral communications? Great. Well, let's move on to the presentation of the Vegetation Management Plan by Fred Smith.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm happy to be here for another year of this program of vegetation management and restoration on the city-owned parcels in the Brisbane Acres. On the screen behind you, there's a relief map that shows the slope of the mountain, and outlined in green are the city-owned parcels in the Brisbane Acres. So the program that's being programmed this year is building upon what we did last year, which is to a large extent kind of a maintenance and ongoing monitoring effort. So we're kind of dividing this area into zones. The first we're calling the Harold Road area, and it's this area above Harold Road that kind of comes around and to the parcels that we own in this little sort of loop on the southeast portion of the main ridge of the mountain. And the issues there are the fennel, there's some broom that has been, large stands of broom that have been removed, and so we're doing ongoing monitoring and treatment of resprouts. And well, let's see what, I think those are the main issues in that area. In that area, we're proposing 2 new programs. One is kind of where it says Harold Road right here on the display, which is the area sort of just over the top, just on the south-facing upper part of the ridge. What we're proposing is an effort, a pioneering effort to control invasive native brush. If you've watched this area over the past decade or so, you can see that brush is starting to encroach into grassland. This is something that's being addressed by the county and the HCP, and they have a program to also maintain grassland as grassland, not allow it to succeed to scrubland. So what we're proposing to do is in areas that are high-quality grassland and low density of brush, that would be the first priority, would be to go in there and cut the brush and do a spot treatment with herbicide to kill the root so it won't resprout. So this is also in contrast to the approach that the county is doing in the HCP lands, or in the county-owned HCP lands, where they're doing a full-hour spray of the brush to kill it. So we're choosing this method. It's slightly more expensive, but we feel it's more effective. I think it's more of a guaranteed kill. A full-hour spray doesn't always kill, and it minimizes the use of herbicides. It's a lot less herbicide to treat a stump that's this big around rather than spray an entire plant. So that's what we're proposing to do there. We'll evaluate how that works, and if it seems to be successful, and I think it will be a good yardstick to compare the county's protocol to this protocol and see which is really the more effective and efficient way to go. So hopefully we can incorporate this as an ongoing part of our program, and that will, I think, be a really important effort to preserve the grassland, which is important habitat for, as you know, for the Calliope silverspot and the mission food butterflies in that area. The other new program that we have, other thing that's different from last year in that area is right kind of here on this little sharp curve right next to this canyon, on the city-owned lot 30 and 38. There's a fairly large stand of pine trees, Monterey pine trees that are in pretty poor health. And so what we're proposing to do is do half of them this year and the other half next year to clear those pine trees off. Not only are they catching, they're, I think, encouraging the succession to brush in that area, but they're encroaching on the grassland as well. So anyway, so the next area is called From Herald Road to Margot, and that includes this kind of ridge here, all the way around to above the water tank. And we have a large area that we first started attacking boom a couple of years ago on this recently acquired lot 98, and so we'll do follow-up work in there. There's some Catani-aster, some other issues in that area that we will continue to monitor, and around up to around this ridge above the water tank. And the new effort that is being programmed in for this year is that this ridge that goes on the side of this trail above the water tank, what we're proposing to do is to go out there and eradicate scabiosa that seems to be pretty prevalent in this part of the mountain. And we'll evaluate the effectiveness of that, and if that seems to make sense, to expand that into other areas where it seems to be a problem encroaching.
May I ask a question? How are you going to eradicate the scabiosa?
It'll either be by hand, if possible, or if the ground is too dry, then it'll be by spot spray.
What's the time frame? I'm just wondering because the ground's really moist right now.
Well, once this program receives the green light and you award the contract, then the contractor will go out there and start work on the things that would probably be most effectively done this time of year. And they're very familiar with the conditions on the mountain, and so they schedule their activities with what works best during what particular climatic and other growing seasons for whatever plants they're trying to treat.
I think the project took like 6 months in total last year. They have a range of time to do the work effectively.
So was it also done last year in the summertime when there's no water? Which makes it a lot more difficult, of course.
Yeah, for something like, part of this, especially this area above Upper Paul Avenue, Upper Castaños Canyon, some of that is treatment of eucalyptus resprouts. Mm-hmm. That does not depend on weather or the moistness of the ground. It's basically cutting the resprout and retreating the stump with a spot treatment of herbicide. So that kind of work is not really dependent upon, in fact, it probably works better in dry weather, so you don't have the possibility of the rain coming in overnight and washing the chemicals off of the plant and onto the ground. So,
Fred, is anybody doing any research on these areas that have been sort of treated to remove brush and invasives to see if the natives come back and how much and how fast. Do you know who's watching it?
Do you want to, I mean, I think that the contractors is certainly monitoring it, and we get a report on the conditions on the ground. I think he reports back to the committee in the fall of every year as to the work that was done and what the conditions are and how things are progressing. So, and then I think we rely upon our own, visits in the field and observations of volunteers and concerned people's citizens such as yourselves to alert us to areas that are problems or things that don't seem to be working out maybe as the way they should. But
No, he's also offering to do geographic information system mapping this year, so that'll be a little bit better way to track.
yeah, and that's part of this program this year is to take those, I don't know what you call progress reports and put them into a GIS database, and so you can layer those and see mapping, track over time, the mapping the extent of some of these plant species in problem areas.
Can I ask another question? On the Harold Road area where you're doing the cut and spray on the brush, is there going to be any replanting of the areas that are now going to be exposed?
No, it's the body of the tree would be allowed to just decay, and the grassland that surrounds it will, recolonize the area that was underneath the understory.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about the area that's marked with the 98 there. So I noticed from when I go hiking up there, there's a lot of brush kind of developing there, sort of where, coming around the sides of that trail that you see like directly above that 98. Are you doing any work in that area?
Well, I'm not exactly familiar with exactly what you're referring to, but the lower part of that lot 98 is it's the focus of a heavy. There's a dense bloom infestation in that area at the lower part of that lot, and that's the area that we're focusing on, at least for lot 98. So it seems to be kind of the lower third of that parcel. Had a pretty serious bloom infestation. We were trying to contain it and kind of beat it back down the hill. The property below it is a privately owned parcel, and so we can't obviously do that, but we want to contain it and stop it from further encroachment. The part of that parcel. The private parcel you're referring to is sort of where that gap, it looks like two teeth with a gap between them. Is that's where you're referring to? Two teeth with a gap. Yeah, so like you're showing them down into the right of the number 98. I guess it's like below you see how there's like a road or a right away for a road right below the 98, and then to the right of that is like sort of an open area that's not surrounded in green.
He's never all exactly committed to me. He's looking. Checking.
That's not owned by the
Okay, so, I didn't develop this map here, so let me see if I can orient myself. Which one this is.
And for our audience, both scabiosa and broom are invasive plant species that were brought by people into their yards and escaped and are making their way up the mountain.
Actually, the broom was brought by early cattle grazing and to the mountain.
Really?
Yeah.
But people are still buying it.
They still buy it in the yards, yeah.
Well, and just as he's looking, just a suggestion for us, the next time we do market, because I know we've told people, please don't buy broom. We've talked to the stores, please don't sell broom. And they're like, yeah, whatever. But I think the next time we do market, we talk to people about that and letting people know, we let them know the cost to their tax dollars by buying broom. Because I still see broom in people's yards. I still see people planting broom, and I'm like, wanting to knock on their door and go, please don't do that.
Yeah.
But I think if we start letting them know the cost of having these removed might help them to not purchase them in the future.
That's a good point, Megan.
Yeah.
So, and looking here at comparing this diagram with the kind of the plat map that I have, this parcel is number 100, and this looks to be number 97. So 98 is actually right in between these two. That's not outlined here on the map.
Oh, okay.
I just noticed that. So maybe
Yeah,
98 would be like this, and then 99 is the one right below it is the privately owned house.
That's the one that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's one of those trees that has a house on it.
Yeah.
It's the one that's, you come across, you go out to the end of Humboldt Road, and there's a driveway that hooks, it's like a hairpin turn back, that would be lot 99.
Right, and then the area above it is city-owned?
Yeah.
On that, where the trail goes
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, up
Okay,
over there.
that's what I was wondering about, because it seems like that's pretty grown out as well. Cool.
Thanks.
Thank
So in this area of Upper Paul Avenue, we're going to, there's the area where the big acacia trees were taken out. We're going to go back in there, and there's some retreatment that needs to be done. There are some Catania aster, some more eucalyptus respouts up here by the transmission towers. And then we've got a broom treatment area, which is right above this last house on Paul Avenue. So this would be the recently acquired lot 79, which starts just above that, maybe about 100 feet above that driveway for that last house on Paul Avenue. So it's got where it goes up, where it turns into a dirt road, and then there's a hairpin turn, goes up through the eucalyptus trees.
Yeah.
So as a, it's not really part of the vegetation management program, but the state grant supported effort. As part of the acquisition, we received some resources to pay for half the cost of removing the eucalyptus trees on that parcel. So that will also be something that will be done later this year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to say about the lot 30, the trees on Herald, the timing will depend on whether we do a raptor nesting survey on the site. So if we can, we haven't quite determined the cost of that, so if that's cost effective to do that, we might go ahead and do that, before the summer season starts, if we can verify there's no active nests, hawk or owl nests in those trees, and the same with the Paul Avenue lot 79. If not, we'll wait until I think after the nesting season ends, I think in mid-August or so.
Great.
We got one proposal's like I think $3,000 to $4,000, and to me, it would make sense just to wait a few months rather than to spend that kind of money to push it up
Yeah.
a short period of time. So I think that about covers it.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to answer any
Thank
questions.
you so much, Mr. Smith.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, that looks great.
Do any of our audience have any questions about habitat management?
Sure.
Please come on up to the microphone.
Can I have this one?
Hi, I'm Michelle Chan from Whitman Middle School, and I'm here with our group of students from the green team and our ecology team. And I'm just curious, I actually live in Daly City, and we have Scotch broom all over on our side of the mountain as well. And I'm surprised that anyone would buy it, first of all, and dare plant it when it's already all over. But don't you have an abatement program where people who own those individual parcels have to take care of the Scotch broom that's on their parcels?
We do not. We do, the fire department sends out notices for weed abatement, and all property owners have to clear out.
Right, because we do our, in our part of the mountain as well, and it just surprises me. Some of it looks so very thick. It looks like somebody's not doing their part.
Yeah.
So that was just my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We should probably agendize some discussion of that at some point.
Yeah,
That's
because,
a great idea.
enforcement on private parcels has always been a little bit of a sticky issue.
We've actually discussed an invasive plant ordinance in the past. Brisbane is pretty small, and we felt we couldn't really do that without, getting other areas involved, or preferably the county, but it's come up, but we'll talk about it again at a subsequent meeting.
Thank you.
Just as an example, one of the areas that has a huge infestation of broom is above Letman School, and that's school property. And it would be burdensome on the school district to ask them to remove that. So it's a double-edged sword. It's a tightrope to walk. Yeah. Pardon? No, that's part of what spread sort of naturally over the course of 20 or 30 years. That whole area above the school was an area that was cut and fill to build the platform that the school rests on. So the grass line was disturbed and destroyed, and it opened it up for the boom to move into that whole area, from all the way from where the pool is all the way up to the area above the school. That whole plateau was a cut and fill back in the late 50s. That's the problem with that kind of
unintended consequence.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts from the committee or the public regarding the preservation management plan or habitat?
Fred, what could you guys do with more money?
Just asking.
Great question.
I mean, it's not like the city's rich, but we definitely, are spending money on different things, and I consider this to be a huge priority for us.
It's my understanding this year's budget has been significantly increased over last year, so I think right now we've pretty much got as much as we can chew on it at this point. Like I said, we've got these two new pilot programs for the Scabiosa and the native brush. So I think to me, it doesn't make sense to just throw money at something. I think it's not necessarily going to be done cost effectively.
But my other question is, are you looking to address the overrun of ivy that's happening in some of the areas, especially in the canyons, running all the way up into the habitat?
Killing trees.
And also, there was some discussion about getting funding to help work, to do some serious work in Firth Canyon. And I don't know if you're involved in that at all or not.
I'm not, but I think Karen's going to address that in a few minutes here.
Okay.
So the ivy, as my understanding, there's a kind of a volunteer stewardship program up in those canyons, and there's some...
It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not being kept up with.
Peter Steeler is that he's trying to establish kind of a line along that old Fire Road or whatever it is to contain it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But below that, it kind of gets down into some private property, and so that's to me what makes the most sense. But that's something we can look at for next year with the contractor in terms of developing maybe a protocol and see what his input might be in terms of how effective that is.
That would be good.
Ivy, for the most part, tends to require handwork, and so it's very difficult. It's a good thing to do with volunteer labor, because paying for very labor-intensive activities runs into expense. I think you'll see in the proposal for the Firth Canyon site. So.
Mm-hmm. And we did get a quote for Firth Canyon, but I'd prefer to talk about it later, given that we want to adopt the vegetation management plan so that we can start and we have another presentation. Okay. But we can definitely have that conversation.
Cool. Any other comments, questions?
Mm-hmm. I'm just very anxious about how effective the scabiosis removal is going to be. Because if you don't get it all, it comes right back. And as I well know. So I'm hoping that they're really going to make a dent in it, because it is a tough one.
Yeah, and I remember that's what Mark Heath from Shelter Belt said last August when he presented. It was kind of like a throw your hands up, like it's hard to wrap your hands around that because it just spreads. So let's see what happens with this pilot program.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
So do you need us to take action?
Yeah, I think you're approving this plan for this year.
I'll make a motion to adopt the vegetation management plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Sounds like we have unanimous approval.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Fred.
thank you, Fred. Really good. All right, moving onwards, our next item is the pilot turf replacement project, and we're going to have a presentation from Callender and Associates.
Oh,
committee members, I'm going to go ahead and tee this up first, if you don't mind. Good evening, Randy Brewer, I'm the Public Works Director. For those of you I haven't had the opportunity to meet, I want to give you a sense of where this project came from. So about 2 years ago now, during budget deliberations, the council had asked that the city put aside some money to do a tree study in Crocker Industrial Park, and they happened to ask when the Public Works Director wasn't there, so a dollar amount was put forth, and that was put into the budget, and we eventually have done that study. And I think that this committee is well aware of the commission of the urban forest out here in Crocker Industrial Park. I know you've had Mrs. Scofier going around and identifying which trees are at risk of failure and sending letters out to the businesses, and the businesses have been very cooperative there. The good news is that after that study was done, there's some money left over. So being a good Public Works Director, I like to expend all the money that's been given to me, and also happened to coincidentally be at the same time that we were deeply immersed in the drought. And for those of us who run the 2 water systems that City of Brisbane owns and operates, for many years we've known that that's the low-hanging fruit as far as conserving water. In Brisbane, when we have unrestricted water usage, when we have high water use in the summer, irrigation can be as much as 25% of the water that the city uses. And a lot of people's first reaction to that is, well, it's in your brain, you just cut it off. And in fact, that's not the best answer, because what happens is that 25% of your fixed costs are also being covered by those irrigation accounts. So if you were to just all of a sudden automatically cancel all those accounts, the remaining 75% of the system, the residences and the businesses, would have to pick up all the fixed costs of those other accounts we're utilizing. So it's something we're trying to manage, we're trying to move forward carefully. But as we were considering that, and as we were in the midst of restrictions that were imposed by the State Water Resources Control Board, and again, I feel like I'm talking to the choir, OSEC's well aware of these sorts of things, and how you're not allowed to water during daytime hours now, and how you can only water 2 days a week, and we restricted it to odd and even sides. As that was going on, it occurred to me that probably what we ought to do is look at a study in Crocker Industrial Park first. That's the first really manicured ornamental turf area that we have in the central part of town. And really, and I don't want to say that in a way that's derogatory to it, because it was intentionally designed that way. There was a very famous landscape architect who was involved in that, and frankly, if you look at Crocker Industrial Park and you compare it to an industrial park in a city perhaps to our south, certainly this is a very different environment, and it's the environment that was wanted. But it still occurred to me that this is not the way of the future. I think all of California is going to have to come and realize that you can't just have blade turf everywhere unless it has a purpose. And there are purposes. Certainly our athletic fields, I think, is a good purpose. Our community park, clearly a good purpose. That's where people in a small community that don't have big lawns need a place to just come down and hang out. And that's a great place for our community gatherings. We do so many times with concerts in the park and day in the park, and then we have movies. That's all fabulous. But some of the rest of this we can start looking at a way to get rid of. So about that point in time, I reached out to Cowan and Associates and asked them to do a study on city-owned parcels within the Crocker Industrial Park. And this is just a study now. I want to emphasize that with you, because we've gone through, we've had a couple study meetings. We've had San Bruno Mountain Watch and the nursery manager at the table since the first meeting, because we wanted to get that input, because obviously we are very interested in having native, non-invasive, low to no water plants here, but at the same time we recognize that there's a couple of different environments that we're looking at, and I'll let Mark and Nate, I don't want to spoil all their thunder, but we have different areas. You've got an entry to Crocker Park. That's probably different than maybe what you have outside a pump station. It's maybe different than what you would have in the community park. And it strikes me as a great opportunity to have a couple of different areas that we can showcase, that we can show not just the businesses in Crocker Park eventually, because I'll tell you, that's I'll let my ulterior plan out of the bag. My ulterior plan is that eventually we have a series of plantings that are native in our low mineral water use that we look at, and that we agree that, yeah, we can live with that. They're beautiful, and that it does incorporate many of the native plants from our mountain, and eventually come to an ordinance where we tell the businesses that at some trigger point they have to remove their ornamental turf, and they have to transition over to this. But part of us getting there is that we have to show that there really is a reduction in water use, and we have to show that, because there's an actual cost to do this, right? It's real money. Right? And sometimes it's a decent amount of money, but you've got to be able to show business people, more than you have to show a city, that if you do this in X number of years, you'll get payback. So that's where we're going with this. I think the only other thing I want to highlight, just so you have it in the back of your mind, is that at this point, this is nothing more than a study.
So after we finish this study, and it's one of the things that I'm talking about with county right now, is obtaining a scope for them to take this study to construction documents, along with estimates to do that, because that I'm going to put forth to council deliberations that we're going to be doing later this year. So that's where this is going. And having said all that, I'd like to introduce Mark Slipter and his colleague Nate Ritchie from Calhoun Associates.
Thanks, Randy. That's great.
Thank you, Randy,
Context.
and welcome.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to work on this project. I think it's kind of it's certainly, it's kind of unique, right? It's not often that you get to do what you guys are contemplating doing here, which is taking these traditional landscapes and making them contemporary and addressing a lot of the things that we know should be happening in our landscapes today. So thank you for that opportunity. I wanted to start by just giving a real quick recap, kind of a chronological recap of what we've been doing to date. As Randy mentioned, we started just a little while ago. It was the end of last year when we first sat down and talked about the project and started looking at sites, and I think we've come up with some really good sites with respect to being able to showcase different types of treatments. After that, in the middle of January, we had a meeting with San Bruno Mountain Watch, or with San Bruno Mountain Watch in attendance. It was also attended by city staff, and at that point in time, we were just introducing the sites. We did not bring forward concepts then, but we're bringing forward the sites and talking in general terms about the kinds of things that we were hoping to accomplish here. We came away from that meeting with some good input, and from there we've gone to our first draft, first blush concepts. And so that's what we're sharing with you this evening. We've got some input from them, from San Bruno Mountain Watch in a subsequent meeting that we had in February. We wanted to get additional input, and ultimately the intent is that what we finally end up with here is reflective of the community, the goals of the community overall. So with that, I'm going to do, let me reiterate what we're attempting to achieve here. As Randy mentioned, there are water use guidelines in place these days, and thank God, because we don't have water to waste. And so, the Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance is adopted, and that drives any new landscape improvements. So we want to show what a landscape designed to those standards, or in compliance with those standards, starts to look like. Throughout the industrial park, we have a lot of turf, and that was kind of the look of the day, the early 70s, thereabouts. But it does take a lot of water, and so what do we do? What is the reinterpretation of the business park landscape? We've got some great sites. All of them have good visibility, and they are pilot projects. So a pilot project works when there's a lot of eyes on it. So we've got some great opportunities here to show a lot of ways to go in compliance with more realistic or appropriate design standards today. And then what we want to do in addition to that is have some data that comes out of this. So we're going to be collecting information, this is on down the road, but collecting information with respect to costs of implementation, and then the kinds of savings that we can achieve. So we're looking to do a good job, the best job that we can of inventorying what those water savings are that accrue to this kind of a project, or these kinds of projects. So onto the sites, these are them. What's great is we've got a mix of scales. So starting on the far left there at the North Hill Pump Station, little tiny site, about the size of a front yard, which sort of made it a natural to demonstrate the kind of things that might happen at a residential scale. So you'll see with what we're showing you some of that attempt.
And Mark, let me interject. I'm sorry, just for the committee members, if you're not familiar with, we have things that we call North Hill Pump Station and Donkey Hill and things like that. The address is 88 North Hill, so it's adjacent to, it's right before you get to the business that's on the corner as you would turn left and go up Monarch. So that's where, so it's kind of between that laydown yard that a contractor has and the BB Corporation yard that's at the intersection of Valley and North Hill.
Oh,
Just to give you a sense of where it is.
and just for everybody's edification, that big area right above that red star, that big open area, right there,
Yeah.
that's where the habitat restoration's going to be this year,
This-
on April 23rd.
Yay.
There it is on the map.
We've got some other images to share with you of all of these sites, so hopefully that'll help for those who are maybe a little less familiar with where they are. So we've got some plans for finishing out the work that started here already at City Hall. There's portions that remain undone. The parking lot side is pretty much done, but there's places to, there's things to build on there. And so that gives us an opportunity to re-envision what a civic facility looks like today, using contemporary ideas with respect to landscape and resource conservation, water conservation, energy conservation. The business park was I think the initial big driver, and so we're looking at probably one of the highest visibility spots, I think, in the city, which is the entrance to the industrial park, where the big monument signs are there. And that gives us an opportunity to go in another direction as well. And then lastly, Brisbane Park is a nice, great park. We're not looking at calm anybody's fears. We're not looking at wholesale renovation there. What we're looking at is, here's an opportunity to demonstrate how environmentally appropriate design can be integrated with existing conventional design and have the whole thing hold together. So with that lead-in, I want to get Nate Ritchie up here and give him a chance to walk you through the concepts that we've got going for each of these spots.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. So I'm going to go into each of the sites for a little more detail. So I'm going to start with existing conditions, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about our proposed plans at this point. So starting with the City Hall site, what you're seeing here is the aerial photo, and the red areas indicate the areas that we're studying. So it's not the entire site, because there are some existing biotreatment areas that are already low water use. So what we're looking at is the turf areas, and specifically to replace those. So here's some photos just to give you a little bit of reference. This one, right around the corner of the sign, we'd be replacing the turf in this photo. Just looking in the other direction, we can see some of the existing elements would remain. So we're really looking at replacing turf as our scope. So we'd be working around the sign, the trees. There's some turf along the police department edge that we would work with. On the left there is the existing biotreatment swale, and that's already in line with what we're trying to do here. A little bit more looking at the frontage into the parking lot. So here's our early concept plan. So what we're into right now is just at a conceptual level, we're just trying to determine the plant palette that we're going to use and also the composition. So we haven't gotten into detail into specific plants yet. We're just trying to get a kind of an overall feel of which direction we're going to go and get consensus before we get moving forward. So what you see here is different colors representing different plant types. And what we're trying to do with the concept at City Hall is play off of some of the curvilinear forms of the existing biotreatment areas
So we've got a lot of curved plant material going on. Also, if you can see, like around the existing sign here, we're trying to accent certain areas of the site. You've also got some different plant material at going around windows on the buildings. So I'm going to go through and kind of show you some of the plants that we're looking at. So all of these plants are low water use, and we are incorporating some natives. We've been working with San Bruno Mountain Watch, and they've given us a plant list just recently with some more substitutions, so we can try to get a few more natives in there. But that's basically what we're looking at, is low water use and somewhat native. So on the top there are some of the plants that we'll be using. In the background, they're a little bit higher, and then getting a little bit lower, and then this is a little bit more towards the street. So we're looking for a layered look and different forms to try to provide some interest to show that a drought-tolerant landscape doesn't have to be boring. You can have a lot of different interest in it. So now I'm going to move on to the second site, Brisbane Park. And what we're doing here is we're looking for turf areas that are not really used by anyone for any kind of activity. So we're looking at the turf along the frontage road and out along the corner, and then down in the southwest corner as well. There's a turf area. So this is a photo along the road frontage, and what we're looking at here is going from the fence over to the over to the curb along the street. So we'll be removing that whole area. Although it's not all turf, we're proposing to remove everything there so that we can get a single unified area that would reduce maintenance in the entire section. So if you got two things to maintain right here, you've got to maintain the hedge and then also the turf. What we're looking to do is try to simplify the maintenance. This is probably our second highest visibility site as residents are driving into town. So we're looking to replace the turf here all the way up to the fence. This is over near the southwest corner of the site of the park, and there is the existing tree there on the right-hand side, which is has Christmas tree lights in the winter, and so we tried to have that influence our design a little bit. So now moving on to the planting concept. What we've got here is on the right is the southwest corner of the site, and we broke it into a match line so we could zoom in a little bit. So along the street frontage, you can see the different colors. There's really a lot more interest there than there would be of just turf. So you got turf as kind of like one treatment. So what we're trying to do is just say, we can break all this up, and it can be low water use, and it can be more interesting than just the turf by itself. And then we've got a concept, which I'll show you some of the plant material in a minute, by the Christmas tree, where we're trying to go along with the kind of the winter theme and make sure that looks really good and try to incorporate some red and green color.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
We are looking at replacing the Christmas tree. I don't know if this is something that has been communicated to you.
Okay. In this early concept, we were trying to work around the existing tree, but that could easily work into this concept.
Okay, thank you.
It's also an area that gets a lot of traffic, like foot traffic, in particular around the holiday time. When they do the tree lighting, everybody congregates around the tree, and then the kids tend to play in that area and climb up in the tree, and it does tend to get a lot of traffic. It just does.
We'll have to.
And you wouldn't want to in any way impair the vision of looking at the whole tree by having shrubbery in front of it as you drive from any angle, actually. So it's a very tough one, because whatever you would do to perk up the turf there would have to be a very low profile because of the tree, and the nature of why that tree's there.
Okay, that's great. Those are great comments.
The other thing you should be aware of in the Brisbane Park area is that the water table is very high there. And we've drowned trees before, and so the natural water table is very high there. That used to be part of baylands and swamp.
Yeah, that area was Phil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Phil.
And so it's very important to remember that when you're planning and planting, that it's not really, it's wet because we water, but it's also naturally wet and has a tendency to, could even flood.
Okay.
We're also talking about putting a new Christmas tree in there, too.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I said, yeah.
That would be a second location.
Yeah, and I was looking at it the other day and thinking maybe we should place the new tree to the southwest of the old tree instead of to the northeast of the old tree. Just thinking. You know, have it grow up in front of it instead of behind it.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Yeah, any members like to, because I've heard about this concept and I'm completely on board with it. I'm glad you guys, I'd be happy to let you guys be the tip of the spear as we engage that conversation about the tree. But is it your thought that you would put a new tree, that we would purchase a more developed, a more mature tree somewhere and plant it, or you can pluck it and plant? What's the idea?
The thought that was suggested by Sean Sweeney, who, I don't know if you know him, Randy, but he was on the OSEC for a while. He's a long-term Brisbane resident and worked extensively with the urban forest in San Francisco and was employed by the city of San Francisco for a long time. And he had suggested that the tree that we have now has a somewhat limited lifespan. It's already,
Starting to look.
Yeah, anyway, he had suggested that now, while that tree is still has some vigor, to plant a new tree close by, small, and let it grow up there. And
Right, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's perfect. That's actually a good concept, I think.
Yeah, because the pluck and plant thing, was part of the problem with the tree. It's hard to pluck and plant huge trees and have them readjust to where they are now if they haven't been growing in that situation.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. I'll keep moving forward here, and
Thank you.
maybe we can consolidate more of the comments towards the end, unless you guys have something to interject. So I'm going to move on to some of the plant material at Brisbane Park. So along the top there, that's a little bit higher. That would be proposed along the existing chain link fence separating the park from the road. And then towards the bottom, that's more around the sign there at the corner. So a lot of these plants are similar to what we were proposing at the City Hall. So we're trying to get a little bit of continuity through all the sites. This would be our early concepts around the Christmas tree. We're trying to get stuff that looks good in the wintertime, so we want to make sure that it's evergreen and looks good when there's a lot of focus on that area, and then also trying to get a little bit of red and green color, or red and white.
Pretty.
So I'm going to move on to the industrial park entrance. So this site is probably the highest visibility site. So what we'll be looking at here is replacing the turf by the signage that is for the entrance into the industrial park. So you can see one side, and this is the other side. So here's an early idea on a planting concept. This kind of speaks to a contemporary landscape design that could integrate ideas of a corporate landscape where it's a little bit more formal, but then also trying to get low water use plants into it. So we've got a few different ideas, but this is in terms of forms, we could go different ways with this, but this is kind of just, in general, large masses. We've got a big area of turf here, and it's like you've got a big area of turf, what can you do with that? So we're trying to get bigger massings of plantings and demonstrate how that could look. So on this next slide, this is just sort of like a photo simulation what it might look like from the street looking towards a sign. So what we're trying to do is create variations in texture and color, just trying to create kind of a dramatic statement, but still with low water use plants. So we're trying to demonstrate to business owners, this is more of an appeal to business owners saying, hey, you can still have a good looking business corporate landscape, but it can be drought tolerant. So it's not necessarily the site where we're trying to do a more naturalistic design, because we don't think that's quite appropriate here, because we're trying to get more people in the business community to convert over to this idea and get on board with the idea of replacing turf. So we're trying to do something that's kind of a hybrid. Here are the plants that we would be proposing. So you've got a little bit of native in there with the ceanothus. We've got different textures and color to try to create some interest. So now I'm going to move on to the last site, and this is going to be totally different than the one I just showed you. This is much smaller, and we're trying to achieve a very different thing. So this is at the North Hill Pump Station, and you can see in red we're going to replace the turf area, which is shown here, and then also the area of shrubs towards the fence. What we're trying to do is maximize the space we could use here, so we're going to go a little bit beyond the limits of the existing turf. Here's another view of the site looking in the other direction. So here's the concept plan for this site, and it's just very different than the last one we saw. So we're trying to do.
Excuse me.
What we're doing here is we're trying to show a lot of different variation. We thought the scale of the site speaks more to a residence. So we're thinking that residents of the town might be able to come here and see different plants and see things that they like, have a lot of different options into what they could incorporate at their own home. So we've got a lot of different types of material. We envisioned this site would be great for this because you've got the recreation trail nearby and there's a parking lot. So we thought maybe visitors there might even be flyers at City Hall, and visitors come up here and actually get out of their cars and they look at all these plants, and there would be botanical names of all the plants, and it's sort of a learning opportunity as well for them to figure out what they might do with their own landscape. There's even possibly a possibility for interpretive signage that might speak to native landscapes or low water use or like local ecology. So that's kind of our thought at this site. So again, the plant material here, we're almost 80%, I think we're over 80% native, so it's almost all native stuff. And just a lot of different variations, trying to show all the different things that could occur, so a lot of different colors and textures. Just a lot more variation in plants in general.
Yeah, beautiful.
So just to summarize, we've already got a precedent started by the city, and we're just trying to continue that and keep it going, and it's expanding to more areas, replacing the turf.
Thank you.
I have a couple comments, questions. I was hoping you were going to say that there was going to be signage for those plants in the showcase garden. That's really great. Especially since it's going to be primarily natives. I think that's where we want to draw people's attention to. I would like, and I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, that all places should be at least 50% native, I think. That's just my opinion. You can take up other people's opinions on that. And of course, I would hope that, and you probably have already done this, but to check Cal Flora for invasive species, because sometimes the status of plants that were thought to be acceptable in the recent past gets updated because we realize they are a problem. And I think there's one that looks like the juncus. I'm not sure if it is that, but I've noticed it escaping from people's plantings and showing up in non-cultivated areas, so that kind of raises a red flag for me. I'm not sure if it is the same plant, but that will require investigation before that goes forward, because I think that's the one that's been spreading. And if something starts to spread into uncultivated areas, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
That it might go invasive.
Yeah, so I have some comments about native plants. So it's easy to say, oh, they're native plants. Well, native to where? And I'd really like us to focus on San Bruno Mountain native plants, not native plants from, the East Bay or southern mother part of California. I notice you have 2 Arctostaphylus listed in the pictures that you showed us. Well, San Bruno Mountain happens to be host to 5 native, including 2 that only grow in San Bruno Mountain, and to introduce Arctostaphylus from somewhere else, and we have 5 of the most coveted Arctostaphylus in the state of California, seems ridiculous to me. I would like to see us really focus on using only San Bruno Mountain natives as much as possible. It would eliminate some of the problems that Barbara's talking about, because even here at our bioswale garden, I took a stop and looked at it on the way in today, and it requires maintenance, and any kind of planting requires maintenance, and I just feel like while this is a great start, there's a lot more consideration that needs to be happening, particularly with the plant palette, and that we focus not on what's convenient and easy, but really on what, if you want to really make it a showcase, then make it a showcase and demonstrate that, San Bruno Mountain is one of the 18 biodiversity hotspots in the world worthy of saving, according to Dr. E.O. Wilson, one of the greatest biodiversity experts in the world. And if we're going to do this, that should reflect that. And that requires more work and more knowledge, but it's definitely accessible to you. It's easy to go to Home Depot and buy stuff that is drought tolerant and easy to reproduce, and that's exactly why people plant the dreaded Scotch broom. We don't want to show that. We want to show what really is a world-class demonstration of what our local plants that we have spent so much money and so much time and effort in saving with, buying acres and doing the habitat restoration programs. We want to show that, not the common everyday palette of Australian happy-go-lucky can withstand anything except a nuclear blast plants. And then also to take into consideration that within the areas that we're looking at, there are definitely different microclimates, such as the amount of groundwater at the park, different areas. I don't know what the groundwater situation is at the pump station. I'm sure you do, Randy. And different, how are the plants going to be maintained? Are you going to be putting in any kind of
Sprinkler?
Any kind of irrigation, drip irrigation, whatever, because even with native plants, for the first couple of years, they need water. They need something until they get established. One of the other things that's difficult, at one point we planted a lot of those iris-looking things around the signal lights down in the area at the entrance to Brisbane. And while they thrived there, I found them to be a real impediment to being able to visually see what's going on the roadways, like kids running out into the street or people crossing the street, and you go to look, and all you see are these, gigantic plants. We've done the same thing at my office, where I'm, terrified to cross the street because they have these big, gorgeous plants they planted, and no one can see the pedestrians in the crosswalk. So those are a consideration in particular around the community park. One of the reasons that little low hedge is there is to help, hide the fence, which we didn't even want a fence, but we felt a fence was needed because there's kids playing and running and playing ball, and you don't want them to accidentally run out into the street and get killed. But the same thing is true for having good visibility in those areas, as well as things that they enjoy, working with. So I think this is a marvelous idea, Randy. I love it. I'd love us to be way more sensitive about using true local native plants, not natives, but local natives, San Bruno Mountain natives, and that's an important hot point. We all know it is from the complete streets and that discussion there.
Yes.
So you'd be like a total hero if you only used San Bruno Mountain plants. Everybody would be like, oh my God, this is the most awesome thing in the world. But I think this is a great start. I just think it needs some serious refinement in terms of practicality of use. That takes some observation and stuff, and also in using native truly San Bruno Mountain native plants, native to this area, not native to, the Inner Coast Range or Southern California or the Sierras or wherever.
If I may just speak to that point, if I may, through the chair, that's why we've had San Bruno Mountain Watch at every working meeting we've had. That's why Chris has been there, and that's why Ildiko has been there, and that's why Ariel has been there, and that's why Ariel is sending us comments. And one of the things that I didn't mention earlier is that part of what we're doing is not only asking them for their opinion on appropriate natives, but also which ones would they be able to supply. And we've had preliminary conversations as we're going through design, thinking how long it would take them. So we're already forecasting that this is going to be a project the council is going to approve, and we're going to want to do this, and that we're going to give our nursery with all native plants the opportunity to grow them from seed and to have them available for the contractor. So, I mean, we're completely in sync with that.
Okay.
And I think, there is a lot of it's hard. But it's just hard to make it 100%.
Yeah.
I think making it 100% would be a challenge, but certainly I think the 50%, I mean, off the top of my head, 50% sounds
Of local native.
pretty minimum number.
Well, we had said 80, so we like that number.
Yeah, we like it.
We're targeting.
We're target, it's our target.
And the other 20% could be other natives.
Yeah, and I think you all understand the balance we're trying to do here. I thought Nathan did a really good job. I think it's explaining what we're doing and how we have different concepts, and that's why we have that bullet in the front of the project about the synergy we're really trying to get is that there's a context of a site, and then there's a desire to use certain plants, and getting that mix so everything looks right and works with the water budget and works with maintenance and access and the desire to encourage people to use it. We're going to work hard on this.
It's beautiful, actually, really great job, really great job.
We have an incredible opportunity here to do something that is way above and beyond
Yeah.
your normal project.
Yeah.
And you should seize the day and do it.
It can be an example to all the other cities in the area, to really look at everything we've looked at here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'd like to just take a moment to, appreciate the design elements and the thought
The
that was
design
put
elements are
into
very nice.
the question of the palette, absolutely valid points in having as many native plants, but I really like the variation in the design elements and how, the entrance to the Crocker Park had one sort of theme going with it and with the intention of demonstrating to the business owners, whereas the smaller plot really was utilized to show, what were the opportunities for residential size lots, and I think you did a really great job in putting an appropriate design around each of those. So, with the palette being, as native as possible, the design still, shows through. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks. Also remember to consider how they are going to grow up, how the plants are going to grow up. As we planted a native garden, all native garden at the yacht club out at the Sierra Point Yacht Club. Okay. And the way it grows up is different than what you think it's going to grow up sometimes. But also look at the one at the nursery, which is tended on a regular basis and how it has grown up, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Nice job. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Randy.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy.
Do as much of this as you can. This is great. We fully support it. All right, so I think next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, and I'll open it up for comments, corrections, or other thoughts with regards to the minutes.
I have just a couple of small things, if anybody else does or doesn't.
Why don't we start with you, Barbara?
Okay.
On our screen.
Oh, do the minutes on the screen.
So item 3, the phasing in of multi-unit buildings was discussed, but it did not come up in the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Which item? And number 3, recycling food scraps compost updates. Oh, they went. I wanted to ask them about composting at Whitman.
Oh, where'd the kids go?
Yeah. Somebody fetch.
I think once you said approval of minutes, they glazed over and they...
Yeah.
It's getting late for them, too.
Oh, is it?
Shoot, we should have them in here.
Yeah.
I had some questions for them, too.
Maybe they'll come next month.
Yeah.
Maybe it was so much fun, they'll come next month.
So,
I didn't see them leave.
They went out when the guys went out.
well, maybe we can invite them back and address them directly rather than just having them be observers.
Yeah.
I would love to have a presentation from them of what they're doing.
I would too.
Yeah, me too.
Because I had some suggestions too, and I'd love to see what they're doing.
Yeah, I had some things I wanted to engage with them. I think maybe we should have rearranged the agenda in retrospect.
It's difficult because we already had 2 presenters lined up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a month in advance and before the agenda's approved.
Yeah, except we never know when they're going to come.
Yeah. And, we can try to coordinate with them specifically just with education and outreach and just have in a small room, just kind of discuss things. I mean,
I'll do that.
it might be hard for them to come to a meeting at night.
Maybe we go to their meeting.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because it took...
It would be great to have them
Almost
present what they do, kind of where they're at, what they're...
Yeah.
Maybe we can go to their meeting and have a discussion, see what they're doing, and then have them set a presentation for the next couple of months or something.
Yeah,
Great idea.
okay, let's do that.
Maybe that's something the
Happy to do
education
that.
and outreach.
I would be in with that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so agenda, minutes.
Yeah, she said a few words about multi-unit buildings, and I would want to get a note about that in there, because now that's the one thing people have been asking me about, and the one thing I can't remember.
I think it might be easier to just watch that portion of the meeting for very specific items.
Yes, but I would like to also see that reflected in the minutes, so that if I need to come back to it again in 6 months because I've forgotten again under the avalanche of things that occupy my brain, it would be good. I would like it to be added to the minutes if that's all right.
I would just be doing the same thing that you do, which is going back to watch the meeting and then...
So do you want me to rewatch it and submit a specific correction at that point?
I think since it's for your personal use, then maybe you would watch the portion that you're looking for. I'm just trying not to make the minutes an exact replica of the meeting.
Well, of course not.
Kind of more action type of...
Of course not. We don't need 20-page minutes.
Too long.
But my point is that I thought it was worth being in the record. So I would like to see it added to the minutes. If you want me to do that work, I can do it. But I would like to add it to the minutes.
But in general, if there are people that are asking about their service and their multi-unit, you should go directly to South San Francisco Scavenger.
Yeah, I did tell them to do that. But I also like having answers off the top of my head.
Well, and I've heard this from staff, is, we negotiate the franchise agreement, but we're not supplying the service, and Scavenger is, so when those kind of challenges are, kind of the burden is on Scavenger to work those out with them.
So I shouldn't answer questions? Is that the point? I'm not sure.
I don't know the answer off the top of your head about how they provide service. I don't know that you're expecting to.
Yeah, I would just send them to South San Francisco Scavenger.
Yeah, and I did. I also like knowing. Okay, well, if nobody else feels like it's an important point, then maybe we'll just punt.
Can't know everything here.
Yeah.
There's a spelling error under food scraps can be placed in cartons, dry items placed into the pail would be P-A-I-L. Sorry, I just first went pail.
As opposed to beyond the pale.
Exactly.
I have under 5, approval of minutes. It says item 4, nursery is not limited to San Bruno Mountain natives. Could you specify that the Bay Natives nursery is not limited to San Bruno Mountain natives, because the Mission Bruno nursery is definitely limited to San Bruno Mountain natives, and I just want to make that really clear. And I wouldn't want somebody to go back and, I looked at that and I went, wait a second, and then I had to go back and look at item 4 from the previous thing. Thank you. I know it's just a little thing, but it's important to us.
It's a big thing, actually.
Yeah. And actually, I find your minutes much more thorough than the other meeting minutes that I've seen from other meetings, so I love your minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't a complaint about the minutes at all. I just thought we have a lot of other really explicit points about grease from cooked meats can go into the compost. And I felt that the schedule for multi-unit buildings was of the same caliber of detail.
I guess meats was also spelled incorrectly. I was looking for that. Yes, it's N-E-A-T-S. Okay. Grease from cooked meatings can go into the compost.
You think this is bad debating on this part of it? You see what happens at home when we're standing in front of the recycling bin going, which one, which one? And I just move it now.
Cool.
Are they, well, it depends if they're Tetra Paks.
Any other thoughts or comments from the committee?
I move that we adopt the minutes as amended.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion is approved. Moving on to chair and committee matters. The chair doesn't have any matters to present, so if the committee would like to, this is a great opportunity. Any committee member matters?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Megan.
You go ahead, because I got to pull mine up. It's just stuff that I followed up from last minutes. I did have one question. I don't know, and I kind of posed this to Natalie before, and it's kind of how it's always been done, but I've never sat on a board that the minutes weren't within 72 hours of the meeting. It's really difficult sometimes to get them after the fact, like a week before, because there are other items that we need to follow up on that we may not have time to do in 6 days. So I don't know.
I think that's a really good point. And when Megan brought it up to me, I agreed with that, and it didn't occur to me to say, oh, could we have the meeting minutes faster? So I don't know what your schedule's like, Natalie. Is that possible to get them sooner?
I think I can get them back within a week.
That would be great.
That'd be good.
That would be better. I think that'd be so
awesome.
much, really.
Yeah.
It's just, I was like,
Caution people when they get the minutes to have the discussion at the meeting. If you
Yes.
find stuff on them.
We didn't discuss the minutes. We only discussed when they were coming.
But I mean, when she sends them to you in between.
earlier, you're saying don't have discussions.
Email discussion between all of you about, brown
Understanding.
We never have email discussions amongst all of us without going through you guys.
Of course.
We really don't.
We really don't.
No, we don't.
All right,
We
Barbara.
probably should.
Do we want to talk about the energy toolkit this time, or is that next time?
That's in item 7D.
Okay, so we're going to talk about it under the cap?
Yes.
All right, and then I wanted to talk about food waste equipment, but I think we should just not talk about that now. So that's it for me.
And we'll talk to the kids about the green team about that. I had that to ask them today.
Great.
I do have one community matter, and that's the Open Space Conference. Last year, Camilla was the person who attended, and it's time to register again if anyone is going to attend. Did you receive the information on it?
I did, yes.
Uh-huh. So is that something that you want to talk about, or because if anybody's going to go, we need to go. We need to sign up.
Are you asking for a committee member to go or a staff member to go?
Well, traditionally, a staff member and a committee member have gone.
Now, was it last year just coming?
I believe Nat, I went.
You guys both went?
too.
You
Yeah.
both went. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And in the past, Lisa went, and a committee member went.
Sure, is there someone on the committee that
Do you
wants
have the
to go?
date?
What are the dates?
It's just one day,
And what is the
and
It's on a Tuesday or a Thursday, it's a weekday.
I believe it's a Thursday. It's over in Richmond at Bay Point, and I'm sorry, I don't have it on the top of my head. I did not put it on my calendar. But it's really an interesting conference, and it's really interesting to go and see what everyone else is doing in regard to open space in the Greater Bay Area. And I think it's important exposure to what happens outside of Brisbane. It's one of the things that helped bring, in my mind, the importance of doing the priority conservation areas. I first heard about that at the open space meeting. Do you have a date?
It's May 19th, it's a Thursday.
Yeah, and I won't be able to attend because I'm going to be at a conference in Florida. Otherwise, I'd say I want to go. I would want to go. But Barbara, you had expressed interest before, and I don't know if anyone else had been interested.
May 19th?
Uh-huh. It's a day well spent.
Yeah, if I knew, I would totally volunteer to go, but I just don't know what I'll be doing, because
It might be something you want to commit to do. It's really awesome.
I would.
No, just remind me about the climate action plan. We made a motion about that. When I went to that climate action planning conference, we actually made a motion about that, and I think that got completely washed under the bridge.
Well, you went to the climate action.
Yeah.
So, Megan, are you interested?
I'm very interested in going, so I just don't,
Anyone else? What?
I should probably commit to that one day.
I think we're just sending one committee member.
One.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I mean, I'm happy to send Megan. I just didn't want, if anybody else wanted to raise their hand, I wanted to make sure that they had, equal debate ongoing. Okay, good. Yeah.
I can't do it.
So it's Megan?
I think it'd be,
Okay, yeah, I'll, last year, I think I just bought Camille's ticket and I coordinated with her, so I'll be emailing you.
Perfect.
you will really like it, and then you can come and tell us all about it.
Exactly.
And it's very inspirational if you just,
Enjoy and take it out and soak it all in.
yeah.
Mm.
Lots of good information, especially in the side conversations. Okay.
All right.
So some follow-up from last week was I did talk to, is this the right time to talk about, talking to
I think so.
Tyler Kuhn about the community garden, the new addition?
We have community garden spaces number, subcommittee report.
I will wait.
Any
So it's my
other
turn.
non-agenda items we want to discuss? All right, let's move on to the subcommittee reports, beginning with Habitat Restoration Days.
Oh, it is on there.
So I think Michelle already mentioned a few items about that, but what I wanted to add was our site activity permit was approved for the Ridge site, and I'm coordinating with Paul and Steve to go on a site visit and talk about the plan for the day.
And Peter, Steve?
I did email him as well. I haven't heard back. I don't know if you see him regularly, but
Not regularly.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Very excited. Tell your friends, bring your family, bring everybody. It's a big area, big open area that more hands the better.
Oh, sunscreen and hats, double down.
Yeah, double down on sunscreen, hats.
Are we doing some marketing like we had done before? I mean, we had some of the hotels and some of the, I know the hotel staff were here. I'm not sure how they found out about it.
I think because it's Earth Day, they reached out to us last year and asked if they could participate. For sure, since Recology is donating for our T-shirts, I give them the schedule of all our events, and they choose if they come to one or more.
Okay.
So they might attend.
Okay.
Could we reach out to the hotels this time and try and keep up that relationship?
Yeah, I think I have a contact for them, so I'll reach out to them and see if they can try to make it again.
Can we make sure it's in the luminary as well as the Star, and encourage businesses to invite their employees to come?
Sure.
Yeah, because I think, last year we were able to handle on the spring day like 50 people.
It's
It'd
awesome.
be great. I'd love to get 100 people up there doing it.
The thing that's different about this site is that people will required, as far as our permit from the county, they'll have to disinfect their shoes, and so I think if some of you were there, it would be helpful to have some people assigned to
I'll be
making
there.
people disinfect their shoes before they start pulling weeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this about if I talk through it, or? No, this is about bringing anything like oxalis or anything else onto the mountain.
Oh, so it's more like seeds.
Seeds, dog stuff, excrement, whatever gets stuck in your tennis shoes.
I was so hoping we'd get the chance to ask Whitman about getting my kids involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe let's try to set something up here. You want to do something next week when I'm not working?
Yeah, if you're not busy next week, I could do...
Because that could change, hopefully, in a minute.
Yeah. Is the city going to provide the stuff for cleaning their feet and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got all that wired.
We'll coordinate, I think Barbara and I'll coordinate and see if we can get up to the school and meet with them next week and get them involved. And I had a whole slew of questions I wanted to ask when I looked up in her car and I was so disappointed, so.
I'm working on a flyer, so maybe if I get one to you in time, you can
We'll let you know when we set that up and kind of I'll pick it up if I go up there.
Great.
That'll be awesome.
I think it's going to be a great day. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
The second site, have we confirmed that we're going to do Sierra Point Canyon? Were you able to go out with the guys and look, or?
Not yet.
Well, I think we were deciding between that site and Firth Canyon. So
That kind of depends on whether we get any money to do Firth.
Yes, so we had Mark Heath from Shelter Belt Builders give us an estimate, and he gave us, his costs included a joint aquatic resources permit application for creek bank vegetation removal, and that's like $2,500. The vegetation removal, he estimated 2 people working for a month, 22 work days, and that was $33,000 because it's all...
How much?
$33,000. He said it's all handwork. There just is not a way to access it with equipment, and then you need to haul off what you've taken out. And then erosion control on top of that, his estimate is $28,000. So that's total $63,000 to do all of Firth Canyon.
Wow.
Well, in my personal opinion, and I don't know if the rest of the committee agrees with me or not, but I think that we should ask the council to put it on the budget for next year. I mean, we're spending $500,000 for a skate park. We owned Firth Canyon and Firth Park, and it was through negligence that the canyon has been so badly damaged. And I think that we should restore it. And I think that $60,000 in the long term, the long future, is not that bad. And the very fact that that bid came in so high and the things that he has in the bid indicates to me that it really is, to do what really needs to be done is above and beyond the scope of a normal volunteer group or a volunteer day.
Yeah.
And that became really obvious to me when we did the canyon 2 years ago. You know, Megan's up in a tree pulling the ivy down, and, you know, and I just looked at how much work we did and how small of a dent we made in a canyon that used to be one of the most pristine canyons in Brisbane and has one of the oldest bay trees on the mountain still surviving in it. And so I think that maybe the Open Space and Ecology Committee should actually petition the council to approve that kind of expenditure for one of our treasures. It is a treasure that we have that canyon.
I think that's a great idea.
I agree.
Is that something a committee member wants to take on themselves, or do I hear a potential new subcommittee for drafting a letter, or...
No, staff would just in the budget deliberations.
Explain.
Yeah.
You've already got the information.
I mean, there's money that's asked for at different times during the year, but given that we're heading towards budget season, that's the logical time to do it. And the other idea is there never was the thought that this would happen in 1 year with a community outreach, but it could be, you know, over the course of several years taken in areas, because it is all handwork, so...
Do you think, though, that if we get it done properly, professionally the first time, then what we do as a community is keep it up?
Yes. And, you know, maybe it's a possibility that Mark Heath might be able to coordinate volunteers to do the handwork and reduce the cost some, just the way that, you know, local people have supported the different projects that we have around town with funding. I mean, but I do think it takes a professional oversight to do what really needs to be done to revive that canyon. I really do.
You know, I'm going to pitch in, and I'm going to say I agree with you, Michelle, because you think about that body of work and how many other areas we're not going to be able to cover if we were covering Fourth Canyon and concentrating all of our efforts there. It's like, you know, how many other spots would slip into chaos in town. So
Yeah.
I think I agree with you, Michelle, that just, you know, opening up the vein and getting this done is worth it, because then we can continue to maintain through volunteer efforts multiple other areas.
Yeah, and it is an important waterway. That's why he needs the waterway permit. You know, our water tanks, our water towers are above that canyon. You know, and it's part of the major flow that comes down off the mountain, as we saw in the winter of 1983 when the whole area flooded. And so I do think it's important, both from a environmental standpoint, aesthetic standpoint, and a safety standpoint. You know, it's an important canyon in Brisbane. It really is. And it was because of the work, you know, there are various things that contributed to its erosion, including, you know, things that we did as a city to change the face of the landscape that caused a lot of the problems that canyon has had. So I move that we ask for an appropriation to do the work.
I'm going to second. Am I allowed to second, or do I have to?
Go ahead, yeah.
I thought you already said you were going to, it's already in the process.
No, we have to decide that we want to ask them.
No, we just gotten a quote, and just for scale, you know, on all of the acres, we spend $30,000, but this will be kind of a one-time, where the acres is an annual, so we do ask for money for special projects in the budget process, and that's an appropriate place to ask.
Perfect.
Yeah. No,
Please do. So do we have a second?
do we have a second?
Second it.
Yeah.
All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right. By unanimous decision, we are all in favor, but I think that's a great idea, Michelle. I think it's really a gem, and it's so close to so
We need somebody to write a letter.
part of the town.
I know, the city's going to do
Okay.
that. Staff is going to approach it from a budget standpoint.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Yay.
All right.
But we do need to support it, talk it up,
Lobby our
Talk to your
council
council
members.
people.
Yeah.
talk to Stuart, sharpen his pencil and make room for it in the budget.
Great. Bike to Work Day.
So it's May 12th.
May
So we have one more meeting between now and then, right? I think we already know what we're doing. We're just gonna, whoever wants to come, please come. Baked goods are welcome. Staff is providing an easel. Michelle, give me another map.
We'll give
This
you
time-
another map.
I do. This time we'll go ahead and try markers and hope it doesn't get too soggy and awful.
I think you'll be surprised at the resilience of our
Yeah.
I've seen they're 30 or 40 years old, they're still working.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and do markers because the crayons was kind of lackluster last time.
Tell me what map you want again.
The Peninsula, Bay Area Peninsula, because we have people who come from,
Okay.
a few people from the North Bay who go all the way down to like Palo Alto and stuff, so
Elsa.
kind of zoomed out a little bit.
Well, whatever AAA can do to help in supplying a map, we will.
Thank you, Michelle.
That's great.
Is there anything else we need to do in addition? I just like to encourage the members to come because it is an ecology issue and it's fun.
Were there people in particular that were signing up so I can let Park and Rec know who's coming?
I would like to go again. I really enjoyed that event.
And just Barbara?
Community last year, and she can't be here at this moment. She might be interested in going. Anybody else?
I don't know what day it is.
Oh, it's
May 12th.
May
It's a
12th.
Thursday, I think.
I would like to be there. I can't commit yet,
Thursday?
but I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
On Thursdays,
gonna-
I could be there.
Okay.
What time does it start?
Really early, like 6:30.
All right, well,
That's too early.
Okay, well, just email me and let me know. So I can let them know how many people will be,
There's
and
2 different sites.
we'll figure out who's going to be at what booth.
we want to, speaking of the mic, and I have people
Yeah.
on the...
So I think Brisbane has 2 Energizer stations. I believe one is right at Bay Shore and Old County, right across from the Bank of America, where they have the Christmas tree lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's one there, and the other one's usually out on Lagoon.
Tunnel.
Tunnel and Lagoon. Tunnel and Lagoon.
Yeah, east of Tunnel on Lagoon.
No problem.
So we just hang out there at the table, and we get to hand out food and goodies and goodie bags and
Oh, that sounds good.
talk to people, and it's kind of fun.
And you do it for, it's like 3 hours in the morning?
Yeah, I mean,
30 to 9:30 or something like that?
yeah, like it starts really early because some of these people commute like
Early.
the entire length of the peninsula, so they start out really early, like 6 o'clock. I'm sure there's people out there at 6 o'clock.
30, I'm sure.
I'm sure they'd be open to you coming for part of the time too, if you couldn't
Yeah.
follow it.
Yeah. But the early part is when most of the people come through, so if you can come before and then scoot off to work, that works great. And, just, it's nice to bring snacks if you can, because there's always a lot of people, they like to get their munchies in.
Gotta have those carbs.
They have those carbs. But that's entirely optional. There's other people who bring stuff to hand out.
Alrighty. Christmas tree.
I did not talk to Sean about it. I did talk to Sean about it, but I didn't, talk to him about it.
All right, shall we,
The only thing I wanted to say was that I had originally suggested putting the tree to the the new tree to the southeast, so that the old tree could act as a windbreak, because that's part of what the problem with the existing tree is. It's kind of windburned.
Yeah, whatever tree we plant there is going to have to be able to take the wind, and that
Yeah.
one was one that really didn't
Yeah,
do it well.
yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be able to go up strong.
Yeah, was the only location thing that I had thought was that.
Michael, did you say it has to look like a Christmas tree?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
One tree pine does not look like a Christmas tree.
It's true, unless we're talking Dr. Seuss Christmas trees.
Yeah.
I like Dr. Seuss.
Me too, but yeah, you're right.
Maybe more update next time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Climate action plan.
You want to do the climate action plan, Glenn, and I'll do the toolkit, or? I'll do climate action plan if you're feeling trained today. Okay, go ahead. So I hope all of you guys had a chance to read we'll start with the climate action plan, or would you want me to start with the toolkit, because that's what's up here on the monitor?
Toolkit's up. Yeah, the toolkit.
Okay, I'm starting with the toolkit. So based on Santa Clara County's toolkit, I put together a list of things that I thought would be really cool to have in our toolkit. I expanded it. I searched online for various other toolkits. I tried to rack my DIY home improvement brain. And one of the things we're doing different is Santa Clara's toolkit is kind of expensive because they put a lot of items in the toolkit that people can then just take out, and it has to be restocked. And what we kind of talked about in the subcommittee was offering coupons for the Brisbane hardware store, so that only the expensive tools, that people would not want to go out and buy, would be in the toolkit, the sort of shower head, aerators, the kind of usable items. We would do the coupon, and that way we could better regulate how much money we were spending. We wouldn't necessarily be giving away a free shower head that somebody may or may not get around to installing. They might take it out of the kit and then sit it there. But the people who are getting the benefit, who are using the kit, would also be contributing financially to their improvements. I'd love it if anybody has any feedback or anything, things they think I missed or
Looks great.
would like to add. I think.
How about a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I don't know what an outlet gasket is or what it does.
It's a little foam punch-out behind the faceplate of your outlet that stops drafts from coming through that port in the wall. And they're actually supposed to be pretty effective, and they're pretty cheap. They're just little foamy things. You unscrew the plate, you stick the gasket, the foamy on there, you screw the plate back on.
Cool. Never noticed any draft coming out of my...
I know I'm going to go home and check the next winter night.
Yeah, you use a stick of incense, and if you hold it in front of the thing, a lot of times the smoke will start
That's so cool.
Interesting.
wafting away. Any other questions or anything?
No, it's really comprehensive. I was really impressed.
Really well done.
Very nice.
Gaskets are $10 for a pack of 20, maybe we could supply one.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know, I mean, I think it would be more nicer if people could do their whole house. I mean, I think gasketing one outlet is not.
Well, now
If it's on the window.
Or maybe if there's, or maybe if there's a sample, like there's one stapled through sheets, so that people say, oh, this is what a gasket is and what it does. I have to actually go through together and put the user guides together. I'm hoping I can just pull a lot of that off the internet, and I'm hoping to get some help with it too. And the one other thing I have to contribute is I completed my master course in sustainability, and they gave me a big bag of goodies that has a lot of this stuff in it.
Oh, cool.
So, and I really don't need any of it because I've already gone through and done all of this.
Really?
So,
My house needs to it.
okay, and we can I was going to donate it to the toolkit, but Megan can be number one up there.
This would be a great thing to do at the Community Day in the Park this year.
I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
So have the toolkit out there.
Perfect.
And kind of like demonstrate different things and give away the gasket.
Yeah, no, that's
Forget the pinata, let's do the gaskets.
That's a great idea.
Look at that participation.
Put the gaskets in the pinata.
The only thing I haven't really figured out yet, but if anybody has any brilliant ideas, is how does it get restocked? Like I was kind of thinking we would ask library staff, and then I'm kind of thinking library staff might not go for that. Which means that library staff would have to but maybe it should be checked out from City Hall. Maybe we should just not deal with the library.
Do we
I think that's actually a better idea.
But do we get the same traffic? Don't we get more of a diverse amount of people going?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that maybe the library's not going to...
Because I got the sense they did in Santa Clara County, but if you're telling me that it doesn't feel like that would happen here, I don't know, would they communicate with us? Maybe we could set it up where...
Maybe we could have a sign at the library that says, come to City Hall, see Natalie on her lunch hour and get this kit.
Well, you can see it anytime, but yeah, I think that makes more sense because I don't see the library people being doing this.
Well, yeah, but would they email us and then...
Yeah, I think they might. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways. You can either have them say, have a sign up saying, hey, if you'd like to know more about the toolkit, or take it out, then you could go to City Hall, or have the staff email City Hall for you.
We can always start that way and...
Yeah, go from there and see how, if we get any
City Hall.
Or maybe someone from the green team can restock it.
That's some good thinking there.
And maybe some of the contractors will recommend it to their clients.
Yeah? Maybe get the realtors to recommend it to the new home buyers.
We may even need to have 3 or 4 kits to loan out. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Love it. Good job, Barbara. Really great work.
Yeah.
And give away free sticks of incense at the... Check your draft.
I hope that's a great idea.
Okay.
So I just threw in this pyramid because I had lost it in a computer crash a couple years ago, and I finally found it again.
That looks great.
And I thought, this is it. This is what people need to know. The low-hanging fruit, conservation, moving up to energy generation. So I was just so excited I had to put it in there.
So maybe we could put this in the star.
Yeah? Let's throw it in the star.
Take out the Minnesota Power and...
Yeah,
We might just need to put efficiency pyramid, period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I don't know if it was originally from Minnesota Power. I think so, but I saw it like I couldn't figure out the right set of search terms for years, and then I finally hit on it, and it's all over the internet. So it's already been plagiarized by 30 different people.
Right, which is what the internet does. It's
Which is what the internet does. So
perfect for us. So.
Yeah, I would increase the legibility of the
yeah.
type fonts, but
Or not.
that's pretty cool.
So next, want to talk about the cap?
I can't remember exactly what we wanted. I mean, we've talked quite a bit about training for city staff and all of that, and after our last meeting, I actually read quite a bit online about Fort Lauderdale, which has a very comprehensive training program for all city staff. It was 30 hours worth, and I really doubt that we could do something like that, but I was thinking I saw the picture that showed all the Brisbane city employees that was in the Star or someplace recently. I was thinking it really would be a good idea to train them all in climate change basics and try to get them, with an eye to getting city staff to integrate thinking about climate change into the way they do their jobs. So I'm still poking around online and seeing if I can find any of the training materials that they used in Fort Lauderdale to see if we can plagiarize those. Because obviously as a small city we couldn't afford anything that comprehensive. But I was really interested in that, and the more I think about training city staff, the more I kind of like the idea of doing that.
Yeah, and we talked about training all existing staff, but then having something in place to train new staff too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still working on that. Is anything you want to talk?
Oh, God, what else did we work on? We talked about so many different things, and I've been
Purchasing policy?
Yeah, so I put in a bunch of work on the purchasing policy for the city about different kinds of supplies and things, and that's what you were supposed to remind me to send you, Natalie.
You did send me stuff.
Was I supposed to send you the links for like OSPEN and all those?
Yeah.
Okay. There was something I was supposed to send you, and I still to this day can't remember. I thought that was it. Anyway, yeah, we worked on that quite a bit. You got the catalog on you?
I can give it to you before you go home.
Okay. What else? Can you jog my poor...
We talked about Earth Day
Yeah.
and what we wanted to do for Earth Day, but I don't think that we made big progress on what would be. We would like to have flags out on visitation, but if anybody can get their hands on what product we'd want to use. We could look at the normal supplier. I don't know if they have something.
Well, we talked about kids having to paint things, but I would need the size and specification for what the flags are.
Do you think that could turn around in a month?
It's a bit late now. I think we'd kind of half decided to punt on that because it was difficult for me in connection with...
Right.
You're talking the flags that go on those things on the street lights?
Yeah.
Holiday flags.
Mm-hmm.
You could use, well, how long, oh well. Just thinking you could use pillowcases. I know it sounds funny, but almost like decorating like little prayer flags. And have kids decorate them. Yeah, decorate pillowcases, and then you just put a hole through the top of the pillowcase and slide it on. It's only up for a few days, or maybe 2 weeks or a week.
Till the wind blows.
It's not that hard to put them on and put a rubber band around it to hold it in place. It doesn't have to be a big fancy thing. And, like we did this project for the block party where everybody got a square and they made with a decorating table, and people made their prayer flags right there at the thing, and we hung them all up. It was kind of amazing. And so it could be almost a project like that the kids could do.
Yeah.
We couldn't turn it on in a month, though.
You could turn it around in a week.
You could always do it at Day in the Park and use them
For next
That's a
year.
great idea.
Or, I mean, really, you could get the kids to bring a pillowcase from home and do it at school, and then put them up.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can.
I like the idea of doing that day in the park though for next year. I think that's really a good idea. We can do it together and look at each other's stuff and
Yeah, no, that's,
really good activity for the OSEC booth.
yeah,
I think we should do something like that.
Yeah, why not?
note taken.
I think pressing the schools, I just don't have the energy to, because
I don't either.
to press them into doing it, I just don't. If somebody else feels like they have the energy to get out the bullwhip and the bullhorn and,
I don't know, I just, and the green team, how big's the green team? I mean, that'd be like,
So if we're gonna wait till the day in the park, then we could actually get some flags that are meant to go on there, the right size,
yeah.
and maybe just get a white color and find out if they're reasonable to purchase.
how many
I was
flags
thinking
are
if you
there?
gave me the specifications and
checking
a
it out.
budget for canvas, I'll just whip them up, but
Okay.
I need to know exactly what size they need to
Yeah, I can find
put
it
on
out.
those doodads.
Could you sample maybe?
Could, that would be great.
Sewing rectangles is not a lot of work.
Yeah, sample would be great.
Yeah.
No, so she doesn't have to reinvent the
I
wheel.
kind of love the idea of me using old pillowcases, but that's me.
A little more professional, I don't know.
Well, I think we can do better. I mean, it's nice to have reuse and recycle and all that, but making them look nice, I think,
Yeah, I mean, I think if we did maybe them on canvas or something, they could last a couple of years.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a seamstress in the, is that an appropriate term, seamstress?
Sure.
It's not, yeah, so we do have somebody who works with
I have a friend who used to call me the clothes mower.
the clothes.
I love that. Anyway, never mind, digress.
Great.
We also talked about using kids to do outreach door to door about energy efficiency upgrades and rebates and that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah, I forgot to talk to the school about it, but I did talk to my son, and he said that maybe, he thought that might work, but kids would probably have to have chaperones, so it probably be limited to the kids whose parents are willing to chaperone them, so.
Or we get a team of people that are willing to chaperone.
Yeah.
We don't have to necessarily be their parents. Was that something else that you want to talk to the green team about?
Yeah. Well, actually, not specifically the green team, because the entirety of the school has to do, 7th and 8th grade has to do a community service project.
Perfect.
And so we were thinking about trying to tap into that pool.
Okay. That'd be nice, I'm sorry, it would be good to find out what the rules are concerning that, liability insurance, chaperoning, age limitations, all, we don't know that. We can't really start recruiting or planning for it until we do know that.
Yeah, I got square one, which was to fly it past my son to see if it was even feasible. I did not get to stage 2 of emailing the school and making sure that they were willing to take it on. I'm going to put that in my to-do list here.
All righty. Any other thoughts?
We also talked about taking all the public transit information or all the public transit modes that come in or out of Brisbane and putting it together on the website. We've been working with, Natalie and I have been working with Complete Streets about the shuttle. They had some ideas about some of the shuttles and ways to make them more efficient in areas that they don't get to. And we had the staff that manages the commute.org shuttle come and present to them. So now your staff has a pretty good idea of what the modes are, and we want to put it all somehow on the website. That's a low-hanging fruit that we can do.
That's a good one.
I don't know if this is something for the CAP subcommittee or if it's something that you could speak about here, but when we wrote the climate action plan, there were several parts of it that we really felt we would have to have help from the county, or the county should take the lead on. And actually, another one might be this training thing. If the county would embrace the idea of training city staff within San Mateo County, they could afford to do a much bigger deal thing than we can afford to do. But I was just wondering how the discussions with the county on the stuff that we wanted to pursue at the county level was going on. We talked about several different things that needed to be pursued with the counties.
Yeah, I mean, I've reported back that we've brought it up several times. The working group that CCAG has for all the agencies that developed climate action plans or are still developing or are implementing or updating has kind of lost a little steam. It lost a key staff person. So, we've been bringing up stuff, but I think we need to still continue our relationship with, or try to improve our relationship with their Office of Sustainability. Because now they have San Mateo County formed. They moved CCAG and they have an Office of Sustainability. But, we haven't gotten any feedback that they've taken up the charge on anything in particular.
Well, maybe we need to figure out some way we can encourage that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can have a great action plan that much of which we can't afford to do on our own.
Right.
And, even if we eliminated all emissions from Brisbane tomorrow, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. So maybe we should talk about that at the next climate action plan meeting. So, what could we do to move that along? I really don't know.
Yeah, and the only thing I can tell you is that staff is positioned with our working group that if something does start, we're there to say, yes, this is what we want, and we're behind it, and we can help. But, it's not easy for us to persuade them to do.
Right, got it. So what I'm asking, I guess, is this something that we should take up with council? Is this something that we should, that OSEC members should go visit somebody at the county level and push for this?
Yeah, let's look back over the notes when we meet as a subcommittee. I think there's room for some of the council to, make those contacts. So I don't know if they particularly, when we check back with if they said that they would or they wanted, maybe that's something that we do with our liaisons and have a meeting with them and talk through what we want them to champion and what they've agreed to by adopting the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay. So we need to do some strategy type discussion.
So, yeah.
Anything else, Barbara, from the climate action plan?
You know what? The climate action plan is pretty much been driven out of my head by the letter to council.
Right.
So.
Same here.
Let's talk about that then.
So Glenn and I have had a grand time wordsmithing around the One Planet principles, and but we're far from being done. So if anybody sees anything that we missed or a point they feel needs to be expanded upon, please send that to staff.
I'd like to back it up a little bit and say that when we were charged with writing OSEC's position on Baylands land use, that was pretty much all the direction that we got. And so we bravely ventured off and wrote something. And Barbara had a good idea of framing it in terms of the One Planet principles. So that's what we did. This is an unfinished draft, and I would like to know, I'm sure we would like to know from the rest of the committee, do you think we're doing it right? Yeah. I really liked it. I thought you guys did a really good job. That's just my opinion on how you brought it and how you set it up. I would suggest a couple of little typos, but I mean, you guys are going to look on that later. I would suggest that any time that you do use an acronym, that you do state what it is. I know we know, most people know, but you also have an acronym spelled one way one time and spelled some way different another time. Again, I know this is just your drafts, and I'm not coming in to give you guys a hard time, but I believe overall it was pretty well written. Those were the only comments that I had.
Yeah, I thought it was a great approach to frame it around the One Planet principles, and it really kind of grounds it in why you're making the recommendation, or we are making the recommendation that we are, and so yeah, I thought that was a great approach, and yeah.
You think you guys do it? It was a really well written.
Hang up job.
Okay, we're not quite done yet, but okay, so we should proceed.
Yeah.
As we're doing. I like it.
The only other thing that direction was that we had said at the time was to try to go back and pick up the comments that we had made from the draft EIR, and I think you guys have been doing that. So it looks,
we haven't done a comprehensive job of that, but yes, we've brought them up.
Yeah. It's really good, and I totally echo what Megan is saying about the acronyms. Yeah. People get so used to seeing acronyms. They forget that EIR is an environmental impact review. And I've heard on the Planning Commission meeting the other night, they're now calling toxins constituents. Well, I mean, come on. They're calling them constituents. Anything, if a constituent is found after yada yada. I mean, come on. Maybe a euphemism for what we're talking about here. So you call them constituents because it kind of goes down easier? Bullshit. I'm sorry. Of course, this is, that's part of your job, but I just did my resume, so I'm very clear on this working with a recruiter, but always at least put, the first time that you put the acronym, you really need to have it the first time. You only have to say what it is the first time. Yeah. Just because you just don't know who's reading it and you want it to be completely clear. I actually prefer to mention it again throughout the document. Yeah, it's official word is. It just helps people. I think that's what that is. Time you use it in each section is a good rule. Okay. Now, this is very much a draft, and it's been gone over much more than the rest of it, so it's not quite done yet, but you guys are totally on the right path. So what's our target completion date?
Well, if we're giving it to council, it's when the planning commission has made their...
So that was something else at least I'm not quite clear on. Is this being written for the planning commission? We're writing it for the council, and who are we writing it for?
Well, that's what we talked about, is that they'd finished getting their presentations, and they were kind of in deliberations. That's right. So it seems like an odd point to come into the middle of deliberations and say, hey, wait, go back, and they'll make a recommendation to the council that the council will consider with public comment, with our input. Seems like a reasonable.
I think that we still should be able to give it to the planning commission if it's ready to give to them, because I see that they are getting other things from other folks still, and since they're still deliberating.
I kind of know about
constituents and.
I can ask. We're an advisory body of the council, but I can ask.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so I can put a little time in this next week. Not much, but a little bit. So we can try to get it done. And then I guess we can send it to you, and you can send it to the Open Space Committee. Do we need to meet again for approval of this, or how do you want to work that? If we can get it done, say, the next week or 10 days, can you send it to us and us read it, and we come back with feedback? With 48 hours or something, and then can we get it approved via, what's it called? Voting, not.
I'd be more comfortable, I guess, if you said you read it now and you approve it in concept with the kind of minor edits. If you're not making significant edits, I think that works.
I don't think we're going to be making significant edits because there are sections we haven't even finished.
Can I propose a compromise?
Sure.
I move that we accept the draft form now, and even though it's incomplete, and go ahead and give it to the Planning Commission, and that we continue to refine it for the council edition with the added things that you need.
I don't think you'd want them to have the same.
No, they don't have to have the same document.
I think you want them to.
The one we give to the council will be more complete, but if the planning commission is in the throes of deliberation now, I'd rather they had this than nothing. And that's how I feel about it. And so rather than toil it on for another month or two, I am willing to make a motion that we accept the draft with corrections to give to the planning commission at this time.
I'd actually like to, since we are an advisory body to the council and not to the planning commission, I'd like to see it a little more fully developed, and maybe we put a drop-dead date on it, so that it doesn't twirl around for months, but, we kind of bring it over the finish line sooner rather than later, and that way the planning commission is getting something close. Now, if we have to tweak it a little bit before it goes to the council, but I'm not sure if I feel comfortable about giving something that the people writing it say is incomplete, and then giving something else to the council. I'm not in favor of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that myself.
Well, if you agree with it, then I withdraw the motion because you're on the committee.
I do.
You're one of the writers.
Well, it's taken an amazing amount of time just to do this much.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Oh, it's very
So, yeah, because going back and looking at the comments and trying to see what the answers to the comments were and all that kind of stuff, it's very, very time consuming. So, probably we could have a complete draft within, are you going out of town next week?
Yeah, and I was actually thinking I might have more time to work on it when I'm on vacation than I do during a normal week.
Okay.
When I'm trying to work, juggle work, volunteer, and house.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be on vacation next week, and I do want part of it to be actually vacation, but I can do some stuff on it. It sounds like you can too. So what do we want to do then?
Can we bring it back in 2 weeks? Do you think that's reasonable? But we have to bring it back at session, right? So,
Yeah.
that's
So we approve it. So why don't you give us what you think is your final document? We can send it out, and we can send that out with a request to hold a special meeting just to do this. And that could be a half-hour meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That works.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll do that. So we'll shoot for
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Is it Wednesday night, optimal?
Wednesday works, yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
Wednesday nights.
Why?
I have a
Back
tap
to that
dance
one.
class I miss every time we do it on Wednesdays, but if it's it is what it is.
Our meetings are always. Yeah, that'll work. The 30th or something like that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think so.
6:30.
Yeah.
For a half hour.
March 30th.
All right.
I think we want to get it, send it out for everyone to look at, and then meet. So I think we'd meet on the 30th.
March 30th?
That's only, right, so not the 30th. Possibly April 6th. Yeah, because we need two weeks to finish.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll meet.
And we want you guys to have read it when you meet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the 6th works well.
And I won't be at the May meeting, as it's
Okay.
currently scheduled.
You're talking about the meeting on the 20th?
Yeah.
Okay.
April.
Are we good on the letter? Move on, or anything else?
Yeah.
All right, community garden.
All right, so I spoke with Mr. Tyler. Let me go back to where I am. Hopefully it pops back up. On the 18th of February, Tyler Kuhn, who's kind of the overseer. Anyway, I think he spoke to you already, Karen, about it, so I think you guys had some communication. He said that he thought the location was good, though it's very long and narrow. That last person had a long way to walk. I'm like, good exercise. Since the underground is crushed granite, he says all beds will need to be raised, and you can probably use fabric cloth or adding dirt. He wanted to know if we know how deep that crushed granite is.
I don't know what we did, but that's part, and I don't remember now when we did the estimate if we considered taking out
The granite completely.
Is it actually on the railroad bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the things we learned during the Cypress Creek project is that is pretty packed down and pretty impermeable to water, drainage and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Some drainage issues.
Raised beds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even with that, there's going to be drainage issues, so water doesn't drain through that. It kind of
Fall out.
Was there actually a rail line there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what the property is that the city was donating.
Yeah.
Are people watering so much that,
No, I'm just, because a lot of old rail lines have arsenic issues. because they sprayed, that was the standard practice was to spray along the rail lines with arsenic for vegetation control.
And even on a spur, this was a spur like...
I don't know. I couldn't speak to the site specifically at all, but...
May want to get the soil tested before we go much further.
So, being that I'm at the garden all the time, I run into Tyler all the time, and we talk, and so we had a group of people at the garden, and we were I was talking about what we're talking about doing, and, trying to get input and feedback. And the general consensus among the rest of the gardeners is that they would rather see, instead of trying to relocate the garden, if it's possible, and we don't know if it's possible or not, but to incorporate as part of the garden the orchard, okay? And the orchard's already got levels in it, so plant between the trees, and then water's right there, everything's right there. So you would really just you could add another probably 20 or 30 plots on the 3 or so cuts that are already into it just needs to be cleaned up. We were talking it's probably, shovel work more so than caterpillar and grading and...
Well, you're talking about terracing up the hill?
Yeah, terracing up the hill and basically expanding the fence up to, Solano, and, basically making it all part of the community garden.
2 things. One is that it wasn't originally done that way because of ADA accessibility rules. Now, I don't know if it's acceptable to have part of the garden be ADA accessible and people with disabilities would have priority over those lower spots. I don't know, because that ADA is a whole set of rules that I know nothing about. So,
and then the other thing you could do with the ADA is then each of these spurs, these roads that are graded, there already, they're pretty flat. So it's not like you would, you probably have to maybe make some concessions or something. I'm not really sure. I'm not an ADA specialist, but they go straight off the road. I mean, San Francisco, the road San Francisco that it's on, San Francisco is really steep. I mean, I don't know how a handicapped wheelchair person is going to be, easily moving around in there, especially an elderly handicapped person. I'm sure the young, fit guy could probably handle it easily enough, but they seem to do all kinds of crazy stuff with the wheelchairs nowadays. But anyways, I think it could be done. And again, like I said, everything's already there. My big question was, does the city even own that property, the community garden?
Above the orchard, yeah.
If they do, then that might be a real nice, easy, quick, simple way to expand the garden that's existing. And
the other thing is that Camila brought up the point that she thought having a space closer to the ridge would be good for those,
incorporate. And that was one of the things Tyler suggested. He said it would be better to have it closer to the ridge below Mr. Blue behind the ballpark so it's walkable for the ridge people.
Yeah, I talked to Susan Maynard, and she was not super thrilled with where it's proposed. She thought somewhere up around the bend would be better. Unfortunately, we did not have Wi-Fi during that conversation, so I could not nail down exactly where she was talking about, but it sounds like the same kind of area that Mike is talking about.
There's a lot of problems with that area in general because she worked there for so many years.
Yeah.
So basically there's, like at the site, there's a lot of garbage that's been dumped. And they basically, Dolby has to go out and clean it up all the time because there's a berm there and people go behind the berm, dump the garbage. I shouldn't be saying this on TV because it's not advertising we want to do, but there are issues. And there's also issues with wildlife that she was saying as well.
Yeah, that first map that we brought was behind the berm that you're talking about. There's kind of a built-up area, and it wouldn't be visible from the street, and it seemed a lot wetter there, so that didn't seem like a really great place to put it. And that's also city property, but this one was visible from the street. It would be fenced, so it would be harder to get garbage inside of there. It might make it less of a burden for Dolby.
Plus, once there's the community garden, I'm thinking that would deter people from camping.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And the wildlife, it might come to this garden if it's hungry. It's protected somewhat with a fence. The fence would have to be tall enough. But, if there's something that's toxic up there, that's not good. That's definitely a problem.
And if we want to test it anyway, we still may want to just test it and not just take it off the...
Yeah, and I don't know about, certainly we thought about expanding the existing garden, but I'm not sure I see it as being as easy as you've described it. And you'd have to put in stairs, or you'd have probably at the slope on the upper area. If people are, you don't, and you're going to create a flat spot around a plot, or you're sloped and you're kind of falling into your plot from above or reaching up too high from below. It
would have to be a different configuration. You wouldn't be able to go with the standard 4x16 configuration we currently use, but at the new location you can't do that either.
Yeah.
We can't find that. No, we have 3 wide, long ways. We weren't going to put 30. The proposal was, I didn't bring it back, but it was 18, I think? 18 or 20.
Okay, well, that's not bad.
Somebody was gonna give us the list of who's on the wait list. We'll check.
It was sent to me.
Okay, you got that.
Do you want me to send it out to everybody? You want to send it out to everybody?
The idea was we don't want everyone to contact.
I couldn't remember what I was going to do with that. I'm sorry.
If any of them would go to South Hill to have a garden space if it was available.
Okay.
How many people again are waiting?
15. Well, that's what it said in the minutes. I'm just quoting what it said in the minutes. The current wait list is approximately 15 people.
That's what it was.
As I've talked to different residents in town, there's so many residents who don't even get on the list because they know the wait list is so long.
Let's say everything else on South Hill were fine. Would they be willing to walk or drive to South Hill to have a plot? It was really kind of our main question.
Okay.
People use it. Obviously, it's more accessible for the Ridge, and that's one plus, but would people in town?
So to kind of answer your question, because I asked that question a couple times, and, well, I hate to say it, but I do walk to the plot, but I don't walk all the time. As a matter of fact, a lot of the times I drive over there, especially if I'm, planning on doing heavy amounts of planting or carrying soil and things like this. You drive a lot.
When I was plot, I drove.
Yeah, you drive a lot, but I walk a lot too, because I'm pretty close. So
it's not that's not prohibitive, but would they
move? Did you talk to people there? Would they be willing to go that way?
I don't think you're going to be able to talk to too many people about giving up their plots.
Not even giving up their plots with you. I'll call the people that are on the wait list.
Would you take a plot if it were on South Hill Drive?
Would you?
I can answer for myself. I wouldn't. I just rebuilt my plot. So I'm
Well, we're not talking about people that are on the wait list. Michael, we're talking about the people that are on the wait list.
I know.
So just a crazy question. I can't help but think about the presentation we had earlier. What about that plot of land in front of the pump station?
I was thinking the same thing when we were showing it to it.
Great.
I was like, how about that?
How about that?
It's too small. It's pretty small.
Yeah. Is it?
Okay.
It's not good.
10 plots?
Yard.
Can it fit 10 plots?
No.
No.
Oh.
All right. Okay. I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at it.
3.
2 birds with one.
Yeah. Kill. Say.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Well, there was a place that was also asked about, but I just don't know what the city owns, so it was behind the baseball diamond in that area.
That's what Tyler was talking about.
That is city-owned. I think that conceptually, at some point in the future, there's a desire to have a different recreational facility, maybe even a gymnasium there.
Okay.
I've heard that, and it doesn't, I don't know if they would want
Both be able to do it.
carve up that spot before deciding what its long-term plan is, although, gardens have moved, so.
True.
Oh, yeah, that was tough.
They have. I should know begrudgingly they were moved.
And so we don't really want to do that. We want a spot that
May no one open that can of
will
worms.
stay, right.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. We'd rather have it.
If we can find a long-term location, that's preferable.
No, the last thing I got from Tyler was that he was kind of the overseer, caretaker of this one, but he doesn't have...
He's not going to do the other one.
Yes.
He has no desire to do another one.
But I think we'd take the leap that someone out of the users would be that person.
Yeah, we'd have a go-to person. What is he,
Okay.
All right,
All right, yes.
I'll make some calls.
Climate Reality Leadership Corps.
So, was this something we could have attended, or is this staff only?
No, this was going to be a presentation to us.
Oh, okay.
And we have, just a very small update, we've moved it to next month because we had other presentations for this meeting that were time sensitive, so.
Yeah, okay.
Great, I move we adjourn.
Oh, I have two quick ones. Just, you've probably seen it, but for the bicycle pedestrian master plan, the survey has been released, and they're going to have it open for a couple of months, so everyone should fill out a survey and let people know to fill out that. That's the initial step of working on that master plan.
Yep.
Gathering data. And then staff other than us had third graders from BES do a tour of City Hall. I guess we've got a relationship with one of the teachers that they wanted to teach them about civics, and they came down, so we took a couple minutes to quiz them on what goes in the compost bin and what goes in trash and what goes in recycling. So
Did they do better than
they did really well. I threw a couple of curveballs at them, Natalie did.
Pete's doing
Oh, that's great.
But it's, maybe there's a chance for a relationship there with, you get a teacher that's interested in engaging that way, and we could utilize that more.
What teacher was it?
I don't remember her first.
Third grade, you said, though?
Third grade.
My daughter will be in third grade in a year and a half.
time flies? College next.
Thanks.
There was the issue of, that Glenn brought up about the FEMA maps and the flood management, and Kinzer was going to look in to something, the amendment.
Yeah, I emailed that to Glenn.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to elaborate. Yes. No. It was just a clarification of what was written in the code. It wasn't a change in policy.
No, I think I remember now, yeah. It's been a while since you sent that, right?
Yeah.
I did read it.
I should, if you, I can forward that in the future to everyone.
Title 24 trainings geared towards staff. Are we going anywhere with that, or are we going to talk about that under CAP?
We discussed it in the Climate Action Plan meeting.
Okay. Okay, that's it, I think.
So there's a motion on the table, is there a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Everyone.
So, Ella, how long are you going to be gone? Are you